Hello and welcome back. In the previous video, we had a look at setting up AutoGen on our machines and we created our first AutoGen application using a user proxy agent and a single assistant agent. One of the strengths of using AutoGen is the ability to add multiple assistant agents in our applications. And each of these assistants can have a different purpose. For instance, we could have a coder agent as well as a project manager, a tester, etc. So in this video, we will have a look at adding additional assistant agents to our application, and we will also have a look at some other key important features of these classes. Before we add an additional agent, I first want to explain caching or seeding. When you executed AutoGen, you would have noticed this .cache folder was created in your project. If I open up this folder, I can see a subfolder with a numeric value. In my example, 41. Caching plays an extremely important role in AutoGen. You might have noticed that the first time we executed our AutoGen application, it took quite a long time to get results back from the models. However, when we executed this code again, the performance was greatly improved. And that is because when we execute our applications, AutoGen will first go to the cache folder and then pick up the results from the previous run from this cache. That means that it's not necessary for AutoGen to call the model APIs again, which greatly reduces performance and costs. However, let's say you don't want AutoGen to pick up on this cache. You basically have two options. Either you can delete this cache folder or you can change the seed. To change the seed, we can simply add a key value to this dictionary in the LLM config. The key is called seed, and for the value, we can simply specify a numeric value. For example, 42. Now, when we execute this code, we will see a new folder created in the cache folder, and you will see a reduction in performance, because the APIs are being called from scratch. Let's execute this program. Let's go to terminal and let's open up the integrated terminal. Now, in order to execute this program, we first need to start up our virtual environment again by running venv scripts and then activate. Now let's run our file by typing pydemo1.py. Now, when we go to the cache folder, we can see this new folder called 42, and we can also see that it's taking way longer to get responses from the bots, because everything is being created from scratch. I'll go ahead and cancel this by typing exit and enter. So hopefully that makes sense. Caching is a fantastic way to improve performance on your programs, especially when you tend to execute the same or similar instructions. Now let's have a look at adding multiple agents to our application. For this demo, I'm actually going to make a copy of this demo1 file and let's call it demo2. So what I'm going to do here is let's create another assistant agent, but this agent will be a product manager. So all we have to do is create a new variable, let's call it PM for product manager, which is equal to the assistant agent class. And for its arguments, we will pass in a name, which we will call product manager, and then we also have to pass in the LLM config just like we did for the coder. But what we can also do with these assistant agents is to provide a system message. And it is in the system message where we can tell this agent what its role is. For instance, I'll say that you are creative in software product ideas. If you want, you can do the same thing with the coder agent. So you could specify a system message like, you are good at writing Python code, as an example. But I'll just leave it like this. So now we need some way for these three agents to talk to each other. In the previous video, we had a look at calling this initiate chat method on the user proxy. However, the limitation here is that we can only specify one recipient, which was the coder agent. So now we need some way for the user proxy agent to talk to these two agents as well. And in AutoGen, that is done by adding these agents to a chat room or a group chat. Let's have a look at how we can do that. I'm actually going to remove this line like so, and then from AutoGen, we will import the GroupChat class. So now in the code, we can set up our group chat by creating a new variable like GroupChat, which is equal to the GroupChat class. And this GroupChat can take in a list of agents. So therefore, we can specify the argument agents, which is equal to a list. And in this list, we can specify all the agents that we want to include in this chat, like the user proxy agent, the coder agent, as well as the product manager. Then, as a second argument, we need to specify a list of messages. Initially, this list will simply be empty. Then lastly, we need to specify an argument called max rounds. And this is the maximum amount of rounds that the agents are allowed to go for. Let's just set this to 12. Now that we have the group chat set up, whereby these three agents can talk to each other, we simply need to add a GroupChatManager to this group chat. This agent is purely responsible for coordinating the conversation between the different agents. To create a GroupChatManager, we will simply import GroupChatManager. Then, to create this manager, we will simply create a new variable. I will call it manager, which is equal to the GroupChatManager class. And this GroupChatManager takes in two arguments. The first being the group chat itself, which we called group chat. And secondly, we need to specify the LLM config, which is equal to our LLM config. So all we have to do now is to trigger our chat. To initiate the chat, we will again call the user proxy agent. Remember, it is the user proxy agent that we as the user interact with. On the user proxy agent, we will call the initiate chat method, just like we did in the first video. But this time, for the recipient, instead of calling the coder agent directly, we will pass the message onto the group manager instead. Then, for the second argument, we will pass in our message. And in this example, I'll just pass in this message. And that is all we need to do to add additional agents to our application. You are more than welcome to create additional agents. Perhaps you want to also include a document writer, a tester, or whatever. And then all you have to do is add those additional agents to this list in the group chat. Before we execute this code, there is one last tip I do want to show you. And that is that on the user proxy agent, there is a very important argument called human input mode. The default value for this argument is always. That means that after each step in this process, we will be asked to provide feedback. But it is possible to change this behavior. For instance, we could change the value to never, which means the program will execute without stopping to ask for our feedback and will only terminate once the agents have completed their task. Be careful setting this to never, as this could cause infinite loops. I will just go ahead and remove this value to leave it as always. We can now go ahead and execute this code. In the terminal, I will run this code by typing py and then demo2.py. Here we can see the user proxy chatting to the chat manager, and then we can see the coder passing its response back to the chat manager as well. This is expected as the chat manager is coordinating all of the agent's tasks. So initially, the coder is explaining to the chat manager how the solution can be built, and the coder then provides the Python code for this solution. Because the human input argument is set to always, we first need to provide feedback. I will simply press enter. The user proxy agent tried to execute this code and the execution of the code failed. So the user proxy is saying to the chat manager that the execution of the code failed, and that is because this module feed parser is not installed. Now the coder is responding saying that this package is missing. So to solve this issue, we need to install this feed parser package. So I'll go ahead and copy this. Then I'll open up a new terminal session. I'll just paste in that line and press enter to install this package. After installing this, I'll just switch back to this terminal session and I'll just press enter. Now the user proxy is telling the chat manager that that package was installed, and now the coder is saying that great, now that this package is installed, we can go ahead and execute this code. So I'll just press enter to let it continue. And this time the user proxy was able to execute that code, and the result from executing that code was this list of articles. So what is very cool is that now we can see the product manager getting involved, and now the product manager is saying to the chat manager that based on that result from the Python code, here are a few potential applications of GPT-4. And this is how we can see these different agents working together. If you like this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.